Welcome to the Modern Real Estate Investor Podcast, where we interview the biggest and most successful real estate entrepreneurs, investors, and capital raisers in the world to provide you with the tool sets, the mindsets, and the skill sets to help you conquer yourself, your life, your marriage, and use real estate as your wealth creation vehicle so that you can live a more successful, happy, and fulfilled life of growth and contribution. If what you're after is having it all, if what you desire is becoming the best version you can be across all areas, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, sentimentally, and financially, you've come to the right place. We will bring to you the best of the best real estate entrepreneurs who will give you the insights, knowledge, experience, and skills so that you can go out and crush it financially and across all areas of your life. Grab pencil and paper, sit back, enjoy, and you are welcome to the Modern Real Estate Investor Podcast. Hello, Modern Kings and Queens. Welcome to another episode of the Modern Real Estate Investor Podcast, where we interview some of the best real estate investors out there to provide you with the tool sets, the mindsets, the skill sets for you to be able to conquer yourself, your life, your marriage, and use real estate as your wealth creation vehicle so that you can build a more successful, happy, and fulfilled life of growth and contribution. I'm super excited today. I get to talk to a modern queen and get to connect with her, learn from her, and just learn about her. But before I introduce this modern queen to you, though, I just want to ask all of you for a favor. I want to ask you that if you get something out of this interview, if you get some type of insight, a skill, some knowledge, some information, or maybe even some inspiration to go out and keep on moving forward towards your goals and take some action, please share this episode with some of your friends, share with someone you think this might impact, and share with someone who might be interested in real estate. So today I have Julie Holly. She's a speaker and founder of Three Keys Investments. Julie is founder. She helps people like you find their freedom through multifamily real estate investing so that you can live a life of freedom and build a life of your dreams. She has invested in single family homes, house hacked before it even had a name, before it was called house hacking. She's managed properties from over 1,000 miles away and passively invested in multifamily assets. Currently, Julie is passively invested in over 300 doors, strategically partnered in 68 Atlanta-based deals as a general partner, amounting to 387 units. And she also has a podcast. Her podcast is called The Conscious Investor Podcast, and it's designed to support investors at every step of their journey so that they can have more success. So she has over 400 episodes, and in there she covers everything about real estate investing as a passive investor, the mindset, and everything you need to be able to do that successfully. So, Julie, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate your time, and thank you very much for being here, and you're welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Alex. It's a joy. We've had this on the calendar for a while, and it's always exciting when you actually have the opportunity to record and have these great conversations.
It is. So, the first thing that I do with my guest, Julie, is I ask them to walk us through their real estate investing journey in 75 seconds or less.
Ooh, is it ready, set, go now?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm third generation in residential real estate. I bought my first house in my very early 20s. We started just adding houses into our world. And when we became a little nervous about, meaning me, I was like, I don't like the single family world. There's got to be something better. And so we got out of that, and I found the private equity space and began my syndication journey. And that began with passively investing and doing everything I expected investors to do. And now, all this time later, we're at nearly 550 units on the active side and just supporting so many people. It's absolutely a joy.
Awesome. So, you do this with your firm called the Three Keys Investments. I'm really curious about something. Why is it called Three Keys?
I get that a lot. So, as I mentioned, I'm third generation in real estate. So there's three. My faith is deeply important to me. And I figure Jesus rose again on the third day. It's good enough for me. 3 is another reason 3 is a great number. 3 is also a great number because by the third time you've done something, you know if you like it, you love it, or you want to leave it. And so, you have one bite of something, you're like, I don't know. You have a second bite, you might still be out third bite, you either like it, love it, leave it. So I really like the number 3. And there's a bird on the logo. There's a bird on top of a cage. So it just really represents freedom all the way around.
Awesome. I liked it. I like that. I thought that it meant something about freedom. I also talk about freedom. I actually talk about physical freedom, emotional freedom, spiritual freedom, sentimental freedom, and financial freedom. Right? It's about having it all. So I thought, it had something to do with that. And it's interesting. I didn't know that you needed to try something 3 times before you knew that if you liked it, you loved it, or you wanted to leave it. Oh, that's really cool.
It's something that we have found. And by the way, I think that's why we have a lot of synergy. Not to, just to interject here for a moment, is that the conscious investor movement is all about people finding personal freedom, which includes financial freedom. But a lot of people get fixated on finding that financial freedom, and they end up not having personal freedom, which are all the elements that you talk about on your podcast. And it's like, we want personal freedom in our life, and that does include financial freedom, but it includes so much more.
Yeah, everything else before that, right? And actually, what I thought the 3 keys came from was from health, mindset, and wealth, which are one of the 3 main things that you talk about in most of your content, right? And that's what your event is about, which we're going to get into a little bit more right now. But those 3 things: health, mindset, and wealth. And I know that you also do some performance coaching, and as a performance coach, health and mindset has a lot to do with being a high performance individual. So can you walk me through a little bit as to how all of it ties together: the health, mindset, and wealth, the performance coaching, and the real estate investing?
Sure. The pillars of the conscious investor are, like you said, health, mindset, wealth. There's no sense in building our wealth if we don't have our physical health, right? If we don't if you listener, you have been sick before, guaranteed. And when I was sick recently, I caught like some tummy bug, and it's like, here I was laying out on my deck on a chaise, and it's like, I don't feel good. I don't feel like doing anything. It's difficult to enjoy life or to offer substantial contribution, or even a little bit of contribution to the world around us, when we don't have our health and our physical health. And so the first tenet is our physical health, and then our mindset. If our thinking, our whole world is created by whatever it is that we are thinking about it. That's why, even people that were in concentration camps, there's a whole book written on this about having joy, even in those difficult situations. How we think and perceive the world, our mindset towards the world, will either help or hinder us. We could go back to the pandemic, and some people thrived during that time because their mindset was positioned in a way that allowed them to thrive. So once we have our physical health, we have a strong mindset. Now let's just add on the wealth, and that wealth is going to be not just financial wealth. It's the wealth of strong relationships, the wealth of everything else just stacked upon each other. But really, when we're looking to build financial wealth, having our physical well-being and our mindset put together is going to mean we're really going to be able to enjoy and do tremendous good with the wealth that we've generated.
And use it to fuel our health and our mindset, right? To increase it further and be able to increase our wealth with that health and that mindset. And then it goes on and on and on, right?
Yep.
So
it does.
So Julie, let's see. What did I wanted to tell you? I wanted to tell you something, but suddenly I just forgot. But now I remembered. The people that listen to this podcast are people who are passive investors. Some of them are active investors, and some do not know yet, right? However, every single person that listens to this podcast are people who have chosen to use real estate as their wealth creation vehicle, right? Like they don't know, they don't know how they're gonna do it. They've read Robert Kiyosaki. They know that real estate is a great vehicle to build your wealth, and a lot of them haven't gotten started yet in anything necessarily. But every single person that listens to this podcast has chosen to use real estate as the vehicle that they're going to use to build wealth. And the purpose of this podcast is to interview people like you and provide the listeners with the insights that they'll need to navigate their journeys a lot better, right? And then so selfishly, and then for the viewer, how do you tie your performance coaching with your real estate investing firm?
Yeah, that was a natural progression. I actually was able, when I first got into active investing, so I discovered syndication, right? That was great, but I didn't want to bring investors into any deals until I had some own personal experience on the passive side of things. I wanted to really truly understand that passive element. That included rolling over 401k funds, understanding infinite banking or bank on yourself, or however you want to talk about utilizing whole and term life, not term, but whole and universal life policies. There's a debate on those. And so once I, started down that path and joined and found myself a strong mentor, I did not realize that program also included a high performance coach. And that high performance coach was someone that really impacted my life in a tremendous way and opened up and I had it all within me. And I remember during my first session with him saying, hey, I know I have the potential. I know it's within me. And I'm frustrated because
Hello, morning kings and queens. At my company, Millionaire Network Automation, we believe in the power of networking. We believe that in real estate, your net worth is your network. This is why we help real estate investors raise capital by connecting them with their ideal investors and helping them build a massive network of their ideal investors in less than 30 days and with only 4 hours of work per week. If you're interested in this, click the link below in the description of this podcast to learn how you can propel your growth with a reliable system that will consistently help you connect with your ideal investors, build trust, add value, get your investors to promote you and put you in front of more of their investor friends, and raise more capital faster and in a much more effortless way so that you can achieve your financial freedom and still have the time and the energy to pour into every single other area of your life. So go watch the training, and you're going to have the opportunity to book a call to talk about how you can get this 100% done for you system implemented in the next 5 days. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you later, and enjoy the rest of this episode. Bye-bye.
It'll take me years to figure out how to access this and contribute this to the world, whatever contribution I have. And working with my high performance coach really allowed me to access that information. Fast forward after a couple of years, my coach kept telling me, like, you need to be coaching. So what I find with active and passive investors and truly just high performers is that we have so much more to offer and we can leave it on the table. In fact, recently I was at a private mastermind and I was telling someone there, this small group of 14, and I was speaking to one person in particular saying, you're extremely successful, but you actually have more to offer, right? And that more to offer doesn't mean I have to do more and expend more energy. So actually it could be that we need to receive more. And so really truly being able to understand our place, our position, and how we fit into a situation really comes through that high performance coaching. And so if we're going to have our health and a strong mindset, well, that strong mindset really comes through that performance coaching. It allows us to really understand ourselves, our thinking. It allows us to receive ourselves and the world around us in a healthy way. And it allows us to raise our level of self-awareness so that we have clarity, so that we can take confident steps forward. Not always comfortable, but we can move forward assured that we can execute on what we're looking for.
Nice. Yeah, so I really like that because in my journey, it's been like a natural progression as well. Like everything that I talk to is aligned with being what I call a modern king, right? With a lot of the content I create and that I'm working on creating doesn't necessarily talk about real estate or raising capital or networking, but about everything else, right? And I find that I'm attracting people that are interested in this concept of like becoming a modern king. In your case, a conscious investor. And then naturally, right, once they get in that circle, once they get in that community and they start learning all the ways, they start working on themselves, on their physical freedom, on their emotional freedom, on their sentimental freedom, spiritual freedom. One of the ways that they can work on their financial freedom is by investing in real estate. Is that what you've seen as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Actually, that really is a natural progression for a lot of coaching clients that are not already involved in the real estate space. Is when we're developing our wealth, oftentimes we're not as open to alternative investment strategies when we have a fixed mindset, or when our default is to the conditioning that we've been raised with, and the environment we've been raised in, and the culture we've been raised in, and really through, working with a performance coach and, raising our level of awareness, it makes it far more comfortable to receive new opportunities. And so where some people who are highly educated, but they don't have that level of awareness and self-consciousness, and a good self-consciousness, they end up wanting to create these molds and these prescribed ways that all investing should fit. Well, all investing should look like XYZ, and if it doesn't fit like that, then it's bad, wrong, snake oil, whatever it is. And so we actually see a lot of high income, high net worth individuals, and people, that are serving our communities as, educators and such, really sticking to a limited scope on their investing. So when we develop as individuals, it not just opens our hearts, our minds, our souls to more opportunity, but it opens our investment mind as well.
Okay. So we've been connected for a very small amount of time to like really get to know each other, but I can tell right now from the couple of minutes that I've been listening to you speak, that you are all about being a conscious investor. You've mentioned conscious awareness, open, receiving a couple of times, and I'm very interested by that. I'm intrigued by that. So, can you tell me a little bit more as to how you can open up yourself to receive?
Yeah, and by the way, I think I love how our platforms are very complementary. Like the modern king and the modern queen really truly are. It's another way, in my opinion, based off of everything I hear from you and on your podcast, it's really another way of saying conscious investor. And I love that, because it allows people to identify, like, oh, this is who I'm growing into. So as you were asking, just about raising our level of self-awareness, it really starts with a high level of self-acceptance, really quieting the inner critic, receiving ourselves, for better and for worse, where we are, and understanding that we are on a path, a journey, and a continuum in life. And the moment we stop growing, we stop evolving, we stop transforming, however we want to call it, that's the moment we've just we're stuck. That's a bummer. I hope that never happens to me, right? But provided that we are always on that path of progression, now we're opening up continuous opportunity to ourselves. So I would say that the linchpin right there is quiet the inner critic, raise our, our self, just receiving ourselves for where we are. And then from there, just raising our level of awareness. So instead of looking at our world and having to place any judgment on it, like, oh, my kid's doing this, or my spouse is doing that, or, the world's doing this, like, just be curious. I wonder what's going on that's leading into this. I wonder how I'm showing up. I had to tell my kids the other day, like, I just need a few minutes by myself. I'm a little overwhelmed. I'm a little taxed. I can tell I'm raising my awareness, and this is what I'm seeing in myself. And when I see that, now I can take a healthy action towards that.
Instead of just reacting and yelling to them, or whatever, most of us parents do, right? Yeah, awesome. So what are some tactical, specific things that someone can do to quiet that inner critic and really raise your awareness? Because in my journey, I haven't been in this journey for too long, right? Like too long, like decades. It's been a couple of years, but I've learned that it's all about your awareness, or like your awareness. Like, for example, people who are in victim mentality and victim mode, they have very low level of awareness, right? Like, they don't know that they're playing the victim. Like, it seems so real to them. This movie in which they are the ones being played, everyone is against them. Like, they're not aware that that's not the case, and it feels so real to them, and they're just not aware. So their level of awareness is low. So I've seen, through my journey, that it is the key. Raising your awareness is the key, and then
huge.
quieting making the inner critic to quiet down is also a big key. So what are some tactical steps that you've taken in your journey to be able to accomplish that?
That's what a lot of people will call like deep work, where you're really going inside and not going inside of yourself to criticize and condemn, but to really explore, like, how did God create me? What is my potential? So for example, I have a big personality that can be a little overwhelming for people. There are
Mm-hmm.
parts of me where I used to suppress them because I was self-conscious of them, and I was really trying to make sure that I fit into the world around me, instead of saying, and listener, please hear me on this, like, always be respectful and mindful of our surroundings and where we are and things like that. I'm always aware of that. But now it's like quieting that inner critic is just what Michael Neal actually calls a inside out life. Like, we live life from whatever, and it's great because the book of Proverbs talks about this. Whatever's in our heart is going to come out of us, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
really allowing that and saying, um, the inner critic is coming from our past experiences and our perspective on ourselves. And when we can really shift our perspective of ourselves and look at ourselves not as I have to fix myself, but to say, I'm curious, where is this coming from? And a lot of times, not to ever go back to our past to be like, oh, I'm the victim, oh, there's a problem here, but to be able to go back to our past and say, oh, wow, hey, I have 3 older brothers, I was a kid's sister, I always wanted to like fit in with them, I always wanted, being able to go back into that context of childhood really allowed me to see, like, oh, okay, it makes sense why I'm acting in these ways. They're not right, wrong, good, bad, but they're not who I want to show up as in the world. And so now that allowed me to just, instead of criticizing myself and hearing the chatter from other people, now I'm able to like see myself and receive myself for who I am and where I am.
By being curious.
I love curiosity.
So so so
Curiosity is awesome.
so the key is going in there, not with like I'm going to fix myself, but going in there to find out what's going on. And then once you are able to find out what's going on and really get to the root cause of everything, then you can fix yourself. But going in there with a sense of curiosity to find out what's beneath all of this that is happening on the surface.
Yeah,
Ooh.
and I'm gonna say, like, I don't have to fix myself because I'm not broken, but there are disconnects. So I will give credit to like my best friend. She has this great analogy of Mr. Potato Head. You know, little kids play with these, little caricatures of a potato, and you can add different ears and different glasses. You can add different noses and lips, and you can add all sorts of things, and everything is housed within the actual potato, right? And so think about this. How many of us
Mm-hmm.
have so much more within us to offer? So, but we don't. We wear the same glasses, we have the same nose, same ears, same everything, same scarf. But really within us, we have so much more. So being curious, go inside. I wonder what these glasses would look like today, because they're all part of us, but we get complacent and we stop trying new things. We just stick with what's comfortable. And so we only see one dimension of who we are created to be, instead of experiencing the full scope of all the facets that God created us.
Damn, that's really interesting. So look, I was talking to this really successful entrepreneur in person I think it was on Sunday, I think it was. Very wise man. He's like 40, he's on like almost on his 50s. Um, and he was telling me how basically you have to embrace your essence. You have to embrace every bit of who you really are. And he was telling me that you're
Yes.
not this, like you're not this Alex, or you're not this Julie that we see right here on camera, right? You're much more. Like where you are cannot be seen, but it can be felt. So we were talking about that, and he was telling me how you need to embrace all
Yes.
of who you really are. And then he was telling me, he said, why do you think Hitler, for example, had so much success? Right? Like doing bad stuff. Oh, well, bad stuff, depends on the perspective that you're looking at it. But why do you think he had so much success? Well, because he embraced, like his true essence, and his true essence maybe was bad, right? And he just embraced it and was able to do a lot of bad, right? And then he told me another story of of the opposite, like a good guy. Why do you think he was so successful doing good, like Gandhi, right? Well, because he embraced his essence, like, his full essence of who he was. And in this case, it was good, and he was able to impact a lot of people. And then he went on giving me a lot, more examples. And he told me that the key is that to like embrace all of that you are. And then he told me, if you're black, you gotta accept that you're black, and then you gotta embrace it and go out and be black. If you're white, you gotta accept that you're white, and you gotta go out and be white. But then I was thinking about it, and then I was like, after he left, I was like, I don't agree with him. It made sense, and then because he told me this with a lot of like confidence and conviction, it made a lot of sense, and I was almost convinced. But I actually don't agree with this because the that circle that has like black and white, like two fishes. What is it called?
Yeah,
The chi,
like the yes.
the something like that, right?
Or the
Well,
yin and the yang.
oh, there you go. There you the
Okay.
yin and the yang, right? Well, the white part has black in it, right? And then the black part has white in it. What he was telling me that was that if you're black, and you gotta be black, right? And you gotta accept that you're black. And if you're white, and you gotta be white, and you gotta accept that you're white, and that's how you're going to be able to unlock your potential. And then I was thinking about it a little bit later, and I came across this thought. Well, there's black in every white, and there's white in every black. And we're getting so like esoterical here. But what do you think about that, Julie?
No, I love it. This is part of my zone of genius. I love it. I think that when we put limitations on things, we're missing opportunity, and we're limiting curiosity. And I think that that's one of the most important elements. I always think of a sphere that has facets. So, I mean, like just lots of different facets to it, but a sphere. And it's like, how many different ways, how many different types of prisms could that form? Prisms meaning like the rainbows that cast through as the light goes through and it reflects in different ways. And it's like, depending on the time of the day, depending on the circumstances, the weather conditions and things like that, it's going to create different types of prisms that we can see. And so when we start to look at ourselves in our life, the possibilities are endless. And so to say, nope, it's almost like saying that the world is flat.
Mhm.
No, the world's not flat. The planet is a sphere. It's not flat. And so when we say that, okay, well, you are this and that's all you are, why would we ever limit ourselves? Like, and even looking at what we see on the outside, right? Just going with that, the very easy, like whatever is on the outside, whatever the shell looks like on the outside, that doesn't define what's on the inside. And the possibility and potential of what we're created with on the inside is unending, in my opinion.
It's limitless. So saying that you're black or white is limiting yourself then.
Yes. And I don't, we're entrepreneurs. We don't have any limits. I do tell people this. I used to say, right, we've always heard of the glass ceiling. I'm like, people want to break through the glass ceiling and all that. And I'm like, okay, there's no glass ceiling. There's no blue sky. It's all black atmosphere. There's an entire galaxy of life to be explored when we are open and willing. And so I used to restrict my life based upon thinking and circumstances and my perspective of the world. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, like the possibilities in life are absolutely endless because we're adaptable and we're pliable, and who we are is just constantly just evolving right before our very eyes if we're allowing it.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're saying all of this. Well, it feels like you're saying all of this from a zone of not only you know it and you've internalized all of this emotionally, but you're living this, right? Like for example, I've read the book Making the Big Leap, I think it's called.
Yes.
Right? And it talks about your zone of genius. It talks about your like how we limit ourselves from receiving love and all of this stuff. And I know all of these things that we're talking about. I know it intellectually. I have yet to internalize a lot of this stuff emotionally. and then I'm living very few of it. But it sounds like everything that you're saying it to me in a way that makes me feel like you have you went through it to learn it intellectually. You internalized a lot of it, and now you're living it. So even right now, when you said that that's part of my zone of genius, can you walk me a little bit deeper into that?
Yeah, I don't do anything that I don't love. So that's going to sound really crazy to a lot of listeners right now, right? It's like, no, you do. You have to clean toilets, or you have to do like, all right, so I do some things that aren't the most glamorous, but everything that I do has such a deep purpose. There's something more behind it, and that's what drives it. So then the question every day is like, you look at your schedule, is this aligned with what I want to contribute to the world? And when you get in a habit of looking at what am I doing? How am I spending my time? And is this congruent? Is this in line with who I want to be in this world and what I want to offer in this world? And when you do that, you're operating. So, for example, on the zone of genius, I'm not a numbers person. I love words. I can write and I can speak and talk and do all of that for days on end, months, years, probably, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I can underwrite my deals. I can do that, and I can work the numbers, but it drains me. It drains me so insanely, and it doesn't bring me pleasure and joy. I do like satisfaction of getting it done and everything, but I operate now, and I have for the last year solidly, of if it's not in my wheelhouse, I need to offload it to someone who that is their zone of genius, where they can shine, and it actually enhances them in the way that the things that I choose to do enhance me. And when I link arms with people like that and I partner in those ways, we're offering the very best to everyone who is working with us. So for my company, that means my investors are getting the most elite team possible. That's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. If I would have wanted to keep everything to myself and do it all myself, like, they're going to get one part of it that's great, but that part, even that good part, is going to be foreshadowed by the drain of the other elements. So, looking for people in the world and saying, I don't have to be control. I'm a recovering control freak. I don't have to have control over everything. It's better for me to stay in the zone of genius, my sweet spot, where I know I can thrive and I know that I can knock it out of the park. And I know that my partners are going to do that in their area. And together, collectively, we're offering so much more to our investors and to the world in general.
Nice. So, with this ideology in mind, um, do you have like a specific HR recruiting system or networking way that you go about and implement in order to be able to find these people that have that have zone of geniuses that would complement yours?
It's a lot of networking. So I spent a lot of time, and I still do a considerable amount of time, just networking, getting to know people. When it comes to actually partnering with people, it's like, I want to know you for a year. I want to collaborate with you in some small or large capacity that requires zero investor capital or anything like that. And I want to meet you and break bread. I am very driven to make sure that when we meet people, it's different than when we're behind computer screens, right? And we can actually feel, everybody gives off energy, whether we like it or
Yeah.
not. We all give something off. And that's why sometimes we meet people in person, we're like, oh, that was a letdown. Come on, face it, we've all had that experience. I've let people down, other people, like, it can be a letdown. And then sometimes we meet people for the first time in person and we're like, okay, this just got better. And so
Mm-hmm.
those are some of the elements, some of the ways that I look for partners and collaborators. When it comes to skill sets, everyone has basically come across my place at the right time in the right way, for whatever the need is. And I believe, I just have a significant amount of faith that those things happen for a reason.
Mm, nice. I like that. And talking about partners and getting deals done and all of this good stuff, um, you have a 144 unit multifamily development going on, I think. So, can you talk about it?
Oh yeah, well, trust me, I can talk about that. That's a really fantastic growth and learning experience, for myself. I'm really excited. So we're developing, we could actually we ended up buying some more land, at a really great price right beside. So now we can actually develop up to 184 Class A luxury multifamily units in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And again, when you're looking for the right partnerships and you are trusting the process, for me, I believe God is really great at providing everything that we need when we need it. I really want to get into developing, but I didn't want to put investor capital at risk because of my lack of experience. And within my network, I had these friends that were beginning this development project, and they have they invited me to the table. They're like, "Hey, do you want to join us?" And so I researched it. I'd known them for a period of time. We actually were in group coaching together for a while, so we really got to know each other, and that developed a significant amount of trust on my behalf of their character and their caliber as humans. But I noticed also on that deal, we have the developer, the builder, the multifamily architect, and other experienced operators on the general partnership. So looking at the table as to who's at the table, what are the skills that everybody has to offer, and how do I fit into this scene? It was just such a beautiful fit. So it was a no-brainer to move forward in that capacity. And it's great because it opens up, we meet every single week and we go through, when you're doing ground up development, from raw land to entitling it, to getting the permits, to, going horizontal, to preparing to go vertical, to getting your financing, there are so many moving parts. So it's been a wonderful learning experience. And I'm looking forward to, future development projects where, okay, I understand the process, but in the meantime, it's been wonderful having key players like the developer, the builder, the multifamily architect, and strong operators on the team to help pave the way.
Nice. It sounds like you built an awesome team for. Is this going to be your first development?
Yes, that is my very first development project. And I honestly would not tackle it. I would not have chosen to go down this without such a strong team, because development is something that there's already a high level of risk involved, especially if you're buying raw land that you are literally, entitling and such. There's a high, we had to rezone it. So there's a higher level of risk associated than than a traditional multifamily investment or assisted living, which is what we're currently pursuing. And so it's interesting to see, like, okay, let's not put our investors at risk. So this is really a great opportunity to serve and support investors who want to also, get into this type of micro asset class within multifamily. And the tailwinds on it are just like fantastic. But you got to face the headwinds first.
Yeah. So and then just for some insights, just to give some insight to the listeners, what is it that, how is it that you are able to attract such a strong team? What is it that you must bring to the table? In your case, what is it that you bring to the table in order for that allowed you to build such a strong team around you that is now going to enable you to go out and do some development projects?
Well, okay, so I did not build this particular team out. I was invited to join this team.
Well, even better. Like, what is it that you're supposed to bring to the table to be invited to such a strong team, right?
Yeah. Honestly, it's a track record of showing up consistently, and being resilient and being willing to show up at the table. So having a lot of people got to watch this progression real time. These, partners were there real time when I launched a podcast, and, years later, still sticking with that podcast and still sticking with my investing principles and criteria and seeing that consistency. I think that I believe firmly that when we see people showing up consistently in life and we see their determination and we watch them overcome the obstacles that do arise and we see their character, that allows us to say, okay, that's someone I want to align with. because you could be the best underwriter, you could be the best asset manager, the best investor relations person, but if your character is in the tank, if you're not a strong collaborator, you're not going to be able to actually offer much at all to the team.
Amazing insights. Yeah, I totally agree. Consistency builds trust, just like honesty,
Yes.
right? Honesty builds trust, and trust makes people want to invest in you, buy from you, and be around you. So totally. Um, Julie, let's get started with the really quick with the real estate investor obstacle deep dive. It's a small section of my interview dedicated to discuss common obstacles that real estate investors go through every single day. And the purpose for this is to, well, dive deep, right, into these common obstacles in order to give the listener all the insights and tool sets and skills for them to be able to overcome these challenges and navigate through these obstacles a lot better. So today I want to focus on the topic of capital raising.
Oh,
So
you're right.
in your experience as a real estate investor, raising capital and using investor capital, making the decision to not use investor capital, and all of that stuff, how important is raising capital?
Oh my gosh, it's so critical. It is so underrated. Let me, I'm going to put it out there like this. There's this thing we've established, like I'm a person of faith. My faith's important. And there's this thing in the Bible, Jesus ends up talking about how like, hey, you know what? The toe isn't more important than the head, and that like every part is important. And sometimes on teams, I hear people squabble, not on my teams, but I hear the squabble over there, like asset managers deserve more, or, acquisitions deserves more, or every single part is absolutely essential. If you have deal flow, but you don't have capital, you can't buy the deal. And if you have all the capital in the world, but you don't have deal flow, you can't buy the deal. And if you buy the deal and you don't have a strong asset manager and your operations are in the tank, then guess what? Your investors are going to dry up, and as are your acquisitions. Nobody's going to want to sell to you. So I can see how every single element is so integral. We all depend on each other.
So when first starting as a real estate investor, was capital something you worked on tackling right away, or did it come up later in your journey?
No, I knew from the very get-go that I wanted to serve and support investors. That's always been my heartbeat. So I have a background in education, and I really wanted to educate investors to support them in that part of their journey and to support them in their investor experience. So from the very get-go, I didn't have what role do I want to play or anything like that. Now, listener, if you're thinking of going on the active side and you're wondering what role do I want to play or should I play, just look at one, what makes you happy? Well, for me, educating people, talking with people, supporting people, that makes me happy. So think about what brings you happiness and joy, because if you're choosing a new job, you get to curate your new job. And then think about what comes naturally to you that brings you that joy. And look at your skill set that you've developed over the course of your career, and you'll have a good idea, more than likely, as to which direction you want to go.
Nice. So you knew you wanted to do that based on what you're good at, based on what you like to do, and then the skill set and track record that you had built for yourself. Cool. All right. Yep. That's awesome. And did you have any like negative preconceived notions or fears or any obstacles that came up for you, in terms of raising capital? And if so, how did you went away and solve them?
Yeah, I had all the normal things. I hear it in new capital raisers. I hear it and I'm like, oh, don't worry, you'll get through it. Nothing that your first couple of deals it's going to be solved once you do a couple of deals, right? But it's that imposter syndrome. It's like, how do I talk to people? How do I rebrand myself within my family and friends, within my network? People have me put in the box as, for me, it was, oh, that's teacher Julie. She's a teacher.
Mm.
And it's like, well, I was always a real estate investor. I was always a part of real estate. You just didn't know that. So, it's interesting, so it's really internalizing for me. I had to learn to internalize this new identity, this new part of who I am, and to see myself in that way, to receive myself as, no, I'm a person of character. I'm smart. I'm intelligent. I genuinely care. And I have a lot to offer every single investor that comes across my path. But that came through, that's part of that deep work that I did. And it was just part of my journey.
Mm. So that's very interesting. So having people put you in a box, right? Like you were a teacher, right? And then, oh, that's Julie the teacher, not this real estate investor who all of a sudden is investing in apartment buildings. So building out being put in a box by other people, right? So how did that make you? So you said imposter syndrome, right?
Yep.
And then you solved it by doing some inner work. Awesome. Great. Okay. So to finish off this episode, Julie, I have a couple of questions that I want to ask you. Number one is, what is a limiting beliefs that you see a lot of real estate investors have that may be holding them back from their true potential in real estate?
I think most of the time people want they want the end result, and they want to be able to see the full outcome before even taking their first step. And they don't understand that the outcome is actually going to change. The outcome is not going to be what they initially are looking for. They're going to have to take the first, second, third, fourth, fifth step. They're going to be tested and tried. And through that process, they're going to change. They're going to evolve and develop. And through that change, the outcome they're actually looking for is likely going to look different. So I think a lot of people hold themselves back because they're so fixated on a very specific outcome, but they don't even understand how much they're going to change in the continuum of going for that outcome. And so it can be very frustrating for them.
So what's the key? Just focusing on the journey?
Yep. The key is, I do know what my destination is, but I'm not so fixed to that end outcome that I can't allow that to shift and change as I go along this journey. So it's really just being willing to receive, where am I, who am I, and that will affect the outcome.
Yeah, that sounds like my journey, right? Like I don't want what I thought I wanted anymore. What I want has changed.
Yeah.
Right. So
and that's just a testimony to who, like, you're actually being present on the journey. That's so exciting.
Yeah, and then for a little bit I was like, I resisted that, right? For a little bit I was like, I felt lost, but not anymore, right? I accepted it. Which is, yeah, it's interesting. So Julie, the next question is, what is an empowering belief that you believe every conscious investor should have?
Ooh, I think every conscious investor, every modern king, modern queen should definitely be present. Be present with where you're at internally, with where you're at with people relationally, with the world around you. Just focusing on presence, which is a part of raising your awareness, brings a whole different dimension to all things.
It does. I've found out that the key lies in the here and now. So
yes.
I totally agree with you. The last question is, you're a networker, you are a relationship person, you talk to people, right? That's your thing. So what advice, hack, or I don't know, strategy can you give on building a network and networking and building relationships?
Oh, just be open to people. Everybody's I always say this: there is no stranger. They're just friends you haven't met. So it doesn't matter if you're an introvert or extrovert or whatever you are. Just know that your next friend is around the corner, and the more friends you make, it's a really fun place to be in the world. And so just go find your friends, because they're everywhere around you.
I love that. Awesome. So Julie, for anyone else out there who may be interested in becoming a conscious investor, who may be interested in working on their health, their mindset, and growing their wealth, or any of the other topics that you talk about, and they want to connect with you, where would be the best place for them to find you?
Well, I'm going to boldly say I still have touch-ups to do on the website. However, I'm going to boldly, this is the first time I've ever given this out publicly. If you go to, it's an affirmation, I am a consciousinvestor.com. You can access all things conscious investor oriented. So from investing to coaching to the speaking I do to the podcasts, all things. So you just go in and it's a great affirmation, right? I am a consciousinvestor.com. And it's a great place for us to connect. And I love connecting with people. So hop on the calendar over there on that website.
Awesome. Well, Julie, it was a pleasure talking to you, getting to know you a little bit more. And it was great. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you so much, Alex. I appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to the Modern Real Estate Investor Podcast. We want you to know that we love and appreciate you, and we're super grateful about being part of your journey of becoming a successful real estate entrepreneur and having it all. Please share this episode with a friend who you think will be impacted positively. Send it to someone who you know is interested in real estate and dreams of having it all and being the best they can be across all areas. And if you thought this episode was really valuable, share it on your social media as a post or a story. We have a special gift for all of those who contribute to the Modern Kings and Queens movement. So for those of you who decided to share this episode and help us spread our message, send me a message letting me know on any social media platform at Alex Ramirez, the Modern King. I have a special surprise for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.